Yes.
Hey, this is Vahishta. Please subscribe to this channel. It's awesome. And if you like books and you like good conversations and fun people, this is the channel that you need to subscribe to. Click the link below and do it.
Welcome to the Books on Toast podcast. My name is Anuya.
I'm Sharin.
And today we have with us Vahishta Mistry.
Hi.
Yay!
Vahishta Mistry! Vahishta Mistry, they have no clue who you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am not. I'm not a known figure in the world of social media, unfortunately.
yeah.
Yes, but I do read science fiction, which is very cool, and I'm happy to talk about it.
But tell them what you do.
So that's a terrible question.
Tell them what you've done for the last 10 years.
What I've done for the last 10 years.
And where you see yourself 5 years from now.
Wow.
Am I in an interview?
Mega
What is
question.
happening? Okay, so basically, I used to work at a bunch of media houses. I now essentially do whatever my fancy takes me. I went traveling for a couple of years. In the middle, and all throughout, I've been to recharge my batteries. Yes, indeed. So yes, so that's me. Traveler. I work at a startup now. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy reading stuff in whatever form it takes. Books, physical books, Kindle, whatever. Yes, and the reason I'm here, why I like science fiction so much, is because I think it's the conversations that it lets you have like this. You know, it starts with a simple what if premise. And from there, you can build essentially a whole new world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best.
Before we delve into science fiction, let's ask Vahishta what he's reading right now.
Yeah.
What are you
Sure.
reading?
So right now, I am rereading a book called Mindstar Rising by Peter F. Hamilton. He's one of my favorite science fiction authors. He's British, and I think
Oh, nice.
yes, a lot. Yes, a lot of very good science fiction has been coming out of England in the last, I would say, 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
After I mean,
Because they've stopped colonizing, na? So then they
हाँ ना अभी time नहीं है अभी क्या करें science fiction लिखते हैं चलो.
Is it like a series?
So yes, well, kind of. They're like loosely connected novels. A set of so I think about four novels centering around this one character called Greg Mundell. He's a psychic investigator, in the sense that he's an ex-soldier and they've put a little gland in his brain that lets him sense what other people are feeling. So he can't really sense what you're thinking right now, but if he asks you a pointed question, and he can tell basically whether you're lying, if you're feeling guilt, shame, anger, pleasure, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's good in the sense that it makes you think about. The other thing is it's also a very regular detective story. There's usually a murder. So one of the books is about. It's called A Quantum Murder, and it's essentially about a murder that could never take place. So it's like an Agatha Christie book, but set into the plausible future, like maybe 50 years from now.
Nice.
Global warming has happened. England is devastated. They've just come out of a very communist, 10-year communist rule in the book that I'm reading right now. Yeah, it's all stuff that could plausibly happen.
Not
History
really.
is repeating
Are
itself.
global warming, bro? It's happening right now.
Global warming, yes.
So then, yes, so that's what I'm reading right now. Just before this, though, I was reading Adrian Tchaikovsky's Children of Time, which is much, much better. So
Okay.
Peter F. Hamilton's book, this one that I'm reading right now, is kind of like a comfort read. It's an airplane read. But Children of Time, genuinely, I feel is one of the best science fiction books that I've read this year. I will not spoil it by explaining what happens. You must read it.
But it's good that we are discussing sci-fi. So let's start with possibly the first ever sci-fi book that you
Oh, crap. You know what? It was...
cognitively remember reading.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's mainly because you started talking about it, but the first one that I read was, if I'm not mistaken, the Barsoom series. Yeah, but I remember reading. So I read this like when I was maybe in the 4th or 5th standard. And
correct.
the good thing about that series is it's like an adventure series, right? It's like one of those like typical like
Correct.
rainy afternoon, you're like a kid, you have no other thing to do, and you just pick up one book and you start reading it, and suddenly before you know it, you finish 5 books.
Okay.
One of those
Correct.
scenes.
Yeah.
So I think I read that series over like summer vacations when I was in 4th or 5th standard. I am not sure if it is the first series, but it's probably
What do you
the
like
first.
about the Barsoom?
What I liked about it is how pulpy it is. It's such an easy read, right? Like
yeah.
pottery. It's like sit on the pot and just say pat, 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 you're done.
And the pace is like
It's quick.
maniacal.
Yes,
You're
yes.
like, before you know it, you've read so many things about.
And it's got all the tropes, right? It's got a beautiful princess.
Yeah.
It's got like this dashing hero who has like almost superhuman powers because he's the heroes from Earth, right? And Earth has more gravity and Mars has less gravity. So on Mars he's
automatically has more powers.
Yeah, more powers. Like so Superman, but in some kind of reverse way where one of us goes to some other planet and becomes Superman.
I never
like
thought
that.
about it that way. That
That's
humans,
Superman.
by virtue of being humans, could be superhuman somewhere else.
I think that's the
That is
model
that is
of
that is
Superman.
Superman.
I
No,
think that is the
Superman
model
is
of
that
Superman.
only.
Yeah,
exactly. He is
Oh.
normal
Yeah.
in his planet, on his planet. Kryptonite, he's normal.
Yeah.
Krypton.
But here he's like superhuman.
Yes, exactly.
Nice,
Yeah, he's
nice.
just like
I
a
get it.
regular guy. He's just like with
There
he's
one-
just man.
Yeah, he's just
There
man.
he's just
Hi, I'm
Yes.
just man.
So what are the things that you look forward to in a science fiction book? Like what are the general tropes that feel like ye
So I like for me
Anuya.
certain things like really absolutely check like certain boxes. So
checklist.
one is I prefer what's called harder sci-fi, which is not like harder to get into or more complex or anything. It's just that how plausible is this, right? So
True science.
if you kind of. So if on one end you have like Star Wars, right,
Huh.
which is not plausible at all, right? Lightsabers, too many things are happening over there
There's
that
no real
there's no
scientific
real
basis.
science, or even if there is, it's so far out that you've like hand waved away so many things
Yeah.
that okay,
Suddenly
fine, yeah,
it
but
is
suddenly,
What is it? The force exists.
Huh.
Just
And-
it exists.
yeah, just don't question that it exists.
Yeah.
So
Full
that
stop.
that's one extreme,
Is that
which
called
is
soft
fun, which
sci-fi?
I guess. I don't
It
less
is, it
hard
is. Yeah,
sci-fi.
it's
Yes,
called
called
less hard.
soft. Yeah, less hard sci-fi.
what would be
It's like I know, right, yeah. So, but on the other end of the spectrum is stuff like actually like Isaac Asimov, like which yes, take a moment.
She says
pause
Isaac
this,
Asimov one time in every podcast.
What you're saying, really? I didn't know that.
One time every podcast.
come on his
And
robot.
Sweet Valley High.
Oh God,
Two
really?
ends of the
Two ends of the spectrum again. Soft, hard.
Literally, I never thought of it that way.
Anyway, Isaac Asimov.
So Isaac Asimov, or for that matter, the guy that I was talking about earlier, Peter F. Hamilton, and Adrian Tchaikovsky. Adrian Tchaikovsky especially. As you can tell, I have a crush. Yes, so that's the kind of sci-fi where you change like maybe one or two things, or you just extrapolate out a little bit from where we are right now, and suddenly you're in a world which is very alien, make no mistake,
But also
but
very
also
possible.
very plausible. For me, science fiction is any science fiction is a story about humanity and human beings. So it has to be a human story set in any kind of implausible place or time. In the sense
This
that
can be past also.
it can be past, of course it can. In fact, we were talking about Jurassic Park earlier,
Yeah.
and Michael Crichton's books are essentially science fiction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it
Have
is.
you heard that song from Jurassic Park?
You're gonna sing it to me, aren't you?
Jurassic Dil Mera.
How do you come up with this, dude? Like, is there like a separate Anuya engine in the back of your head, like coming up with this
Yes.
stuff all the time? There is,
Yes.
isn't there?
See, I told you
Yes.
science
Yeah,
fiction is
science
happening.
fiction is happening right now. What about you? What do you define science fiction as?
So, we discussed this in our fantasy episode. I don't know why, but because science fiction and
It's
fantasy
very
are
closely
so
linked,
closely
na?
related. Yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
correct.
Like, and I tweeted this random tweet, but I feel like somewhere it's true, where fantasy is magic, and science fiction is explaining, is giving the magic a scientific basis.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's actually, whose quote was that? Arthur C. Clarke?
Really?
Why can't I remember this? So he said, magic is technology that we can't
That you
understand.
don't
Or
understand.
that's,
Yeah.
isn't that,
Oh,
that's,
yeah, yeah,
that's,
that's
that's the
Arthur C.
quote. I'm not
Clarke.
doing it right,
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's
that's
paraphrasing that.
paraphrasing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But
That's
what
Arthur C. Clarke. Yeah, that's what he
I,
said.
That's
Yeah.
what I feel about science fiction. And I was, so again, I'm going to repeat myself.
Oh no, I remember the quote.
What is it?
Sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic to those that can't.
Is that Newton's law of
That's
force?
Arthur C. Clarke's law of something. Kuch bhi, something.
So I don't know, you can prove, you have read a lot more science fiction. But I think all science fiction is very dark. Which is why it's like, you start reading it and there is this like pervasive sense of gloom in most science fiction books. I don't know why that is, and that deters me if I'm not in that mind space
Right.
from picking up science fiction and reading it. Which is
Right.
why it's not my favorite genre.
Right.
Which is why I like fantasy, because somewhere there is always hope and magic and you
Right.
know, it's
Right.
it's a happier version
Right.
of that speculative
No,
fiction.
Is it because like
Am I wrong though?
No, so I mean it's very personal, right?
Yeah.
So I totally get what you're saying. It's very real. A lot of the
Yeah.
stories are very real, and
Too real.
sometimes what you want is you want to put your like that reality sort of
Aside.
affecting brain aside. But there is science fiction
Right.
that's not
Yeah.
like that.
Give me
There,
one.
I'll give you one. Elizabeth Moon's Trading in Danger series.
Okay.
So that is very, very light. It's real in the sense that, again, plausible speculative fiction set in the near future,
is
but
it utopian in that sense? Like nothing bad happens.
no, bad things happen. You can't have a story without
There are
conflict,
bad
right?
things.
You have to have some bad
Yeah.
things happen. But the point is,
Like the world is not ending.
the world is not ending.
That's
It's
what
like it's almost like a political thriller. It's like reading
Oh, wow.
it's like reading, let me see, it's like reading like a Jack Reacher novel, except that it's in
How pulpy.
the slide. It's very pulpy. I love I would say the counterpoint to the dark dystopian sci-fi is the pulpy sci-fi. Because
so
that is
Hitchhiker's
easy, right?
Guide to the Galaxy is hilarious.
Yes.
It's totally
Yes.
sci-fi,
But
but
it's
it's
also
so
comic
funny.
fantasy. I mean, it's classified as
It
many
is
things.
Yeah.
Science fiction also.
It is, yeah. So I think what Douglas Adams did with that is take science fiction and turn it on its head.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he kept the setting and the tone of
And he
science
went
fiction, and he
nuts.
went nuts. He
Yeah,
just
there's
went like into a
interstellar
different place
travel,
altogether.
There are different types
Yeah.
of bees
Duck.
and
Yeah.
mice,
Exactly.
towels.
Yeah.
Like amazing.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, you have someone like Terry Pratchett,
Yeah.
who took an entirely like sort of fantasy setting and went and in some of his books actually went very hardcore sci-fi with those.
Oh,
Like there's this one book, I forget, Lords and Ladies,
Yeah.
where there's a race of elves that are introduced
Oh,
in this
yes.
book. And if you actually read if you just turn off that fantasy part of your brain and actually read between the lines, what he's describing is a race of people who are affected by electromagnetic waves. So
Okay.
he's actually given you a very logical, scientific basis for why this race
this
of
is
creatures
happening. Yeah.
exist at all.
Correct.
And to me, that's like taking fantasy and turning it on its head and making it into science fiction. And Douglas Adams went the other way with it. So yeah, amazing.
You have two ends of the spectrum and two fabulous writers.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
brilliant.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
So guys, what is hard science?
What is hard science?
All science is
All
hard.
science is hard science.
Have you
you
tried
not
passing
like
exams?
Fuck, we are on the same, bro. क्या बात है?
What
हाँ,
is
आगे
hard
बोलो.
science? Okay,
अरे-
what kind of books would come
हाँ,
under hard science?
So see, start from Isaac Asimov, okay, and work your way through history, through Arthur C. Clarke, through let's see,
Ray
actually
Bradbury?
Ray Bradbury, yes. Well, no,
Why?
I would not. I don't know why. It's just in my head, Ray Bradbury is not the kind of science fiction that I was thinking of right now.
Oh, okay.
That's all. I don't know why. It's a personal, emotional thing, I guess.
I like him.
I like him as well. I just wouldn't put him in that category.
My mind
That's
is
all.
being slowly blown away by the Martian Chronicles. Have you read that book?
I have not actually. I think I should
Little
pick that up.
Martian Chronicles is it's like prima facie a short story collection about the Martian Chronicles, but it's also part of a larger narrative, and it is extremely ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first two stories are kind of like you don't really understand what's going on, but don't let that stop you. Go ahead to the third one, fourth one, and slowly, like, as you put the bigger picture together, you will realize just how messed up and complex. It's a mind fuck. So, but I would definitely recommend
Right.
Martian
Right.
Chronicles. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about more contemporary science fiction titles that people should be reading,
Sure.
and what are those stories?
Sure. So there is this book called Century Reign by Alastair Reynolds. He is now my second favorite author. He's been demoted. He's still very, very good.
Who's your first?
Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Adrian
Yes.
Tchaikovsky.
But Alastair Reynolds is also brilliant. And Century Reign is so the great thing about Century Reign is it's both alternative history, military sci-fi, hard science fiction, and a mindfuck all at once.
Wow.
So the book starts
If it is
in.
these three things, then it will be mindfuck by default.
You're going to ask me something, no?
Yes.
What
What
is-
color underwear?
Arey, no underwear. Like Elon Musk, bro.
Oh,
You know what
that's
he
where
did,
the
na?
musk comes from.
Exactly.
Holy mother of God. What just happened from sci-fi to Elon Musk chuddies? Or no chuddies?
That's the beauty
That's-
of speculative fiction.
The what ifs.
Anyway, there are all these different types of, while I was researching science fiction, I also found out that there are all these different types of science fiction. And we have all been reading them without knowing.
That they
Of
are
course, I
these
mean, if you're not
kinds.
students, why would you research
Yeah.
that stuff?
Yes,
Fair.
categories
Fair.
of things.
But yeah, there are categories.
Like seriously.
But since we are talking about it, let's can you tell us a little bit about like different types of sci-fi?
Sure. So there's again, it's very subjective, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
so
not
you
all
can
choice,
yeah,
right?
exactly. So
Yeah.
you can actually come up with
own.
your own, in fact,
Keanu
which I
Reeves should
have.
star in this. Should be a category, right?
Yeah, there's space operas. Okay, Star Wars,
So they
that
sing
kind
what
of.
in space opera?
It's more like dramatic, and there's like a very sort of
Beautiful
yes, an arc, or a story arc.
Arc and art.
A story arc, right? Clear beginning, middle, end, very traditional sort of character development, that kind of stuff. So space opera, that's one. Then there's military sci-fi, which is
That's
so
my
there's
least
it's all like
favorite,
theme based,
actually.
right? Yeah.
I don't like military sci-fi.
But
Yeah.
Expanse is military sci-fi to some extent.
But
I mean,
it's more space opera, isn't it?
no, actually, I would
No?
disagree. So space op things like the classic space opera is Star Wars.
Mm.
That is swashbuckling heroes and that kind of Imagine like
Western
a pirates
sci-fi.
Western sci-fi is another category as well.
Spy
Firefly.
Firefly.
Firefly,
yeah.
one
Which
of my
is our
favorite,
show,
yes,
yeah.
favorite series.
One of our favorite
Yeah,
shows.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
I've
yeah.
rewatched.
Like millions of times, right? Like cowboys in space. That's what it is, basically.
Yeah.
Gunslingers and cowboys in space.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Then military
Same time.
Military sci-fi, and then there's what I like to call classic sci-fi, which is written and conceived of in a time that was before computers, before any of the things that we
know what I-
consider
yeah. What I love reading about, what I love about classic sci-fi books is that the future is 1999.
Yes.
You know?
2001. A Space
1984,
Odyssey.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
2001 A Space Odyssey. And I'm like,
Right.
bro, तेरे को लगा इतना progress हुआ घंटा कुछ नहीं हुआ. Like, मतलब then I think about how we have actually progressed in a different way. And
Yes.
it's just so cool that just imagination landed
You know, it's
Huh.
interesting.
Somewhere in
Like
the
somewhere,
middle,
like
yeah.
yeah.
No, it's interesting you mentioned that. I was reading this article about all the speculative themes
that
in
have come
sci-fi
true,
that have
yeah.
come true.
Yeah.
So I was reading this guy called Martin Cooper, who was the Motorola research head. So he said that he saw a communicator in
The
Star
Star Trek,
Trek,
yes.
and he decided phone banega, main banaunga, cell
Wow.
phone.
Yeah,
That's like Back to the
i-
Future.
if you look at the
came
old Star
back.
Trek, the 70s one, it is that flip phone.
Correct.
That's
it
what
is
it
that
is.
shiny cover.
I mean, Beam Me Up Scotty will happen, guys.
It will. It has to.
कितना convenient होगा फिर.
Exactly.
ऐसा दादर वगैरह ट्रेन से नहीं जाना पड़ेगा.
I really like Michael Crichton. I think his kind of
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
and his kind of cinema really sort of evoked wonder about science fiction,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it led to a lot more people reading science
Yeah.
fiction. Rising Sun,
Absolutely,
Sphere,
yeah. Jurassic
Congo,
Park.
Jurassic Park, The Lost World. The one book. So at one point, because he became such a voice in simplifying technology and also sort of prehistoric history in that sense, he was commissioned to write a self-help book on electronic life, it was called.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I think it came out in 1983. It's very interesting, and I just read it. It's basically telling people not to fear computers. So he simplified BASIC, the programming
Right,
language.
right.
ऐसा Terminator
And-
must have come out and everybody must be like, oh shit! And then he's like, no.
Guys,
no.
these things are
Hold
fine.
on, yeah. So he's literally like telling people how to think about computers and stuff. It's just, I think, so cool, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think all sci-fi writers are legends in their own right because they are teaching us how not to fear technology.
Yeah, but
And
also to fear technology.
Also to fear technology.
But also what to fear about the technology, right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing about great science fiction, because it puts the human being in the center of the story.
Correct.
So it's not about the fact that there are communicators in Star Trek or Skynet in Terminator
Correct.
or whatever it is. The point is that all the reason why you care about any of that stuff is because there's a human
people,
being at the
yeah.
center,
Correct,
right?
correct.
And it tells you, and so the warning tales also are about how it's our own behavior that's going to get us into this situation. Not
Correct.
necessarily, it's
the abuse of
Yeah.
any
Exactly.
medium
Yeah,
will
yeah.
get you there,
Absolutely.
right? And even things like when we talk about in modern, technological innovations, we talk about Internet of Things and machine learning and
Yeah.
where it all come from. In my head, it completely came out of a novel, right?
It did.
Absolutely.
It has to have impacted people
Absolutely.
at some level and
Yeah.
be like, "मैं बनाता हूँ, रुको ना."
Hey, I have a new definition for science fiction. It is the tangible version of humanity's imagination. So if like one book is what one author imagined,
Yeah.
all of science fiction is what the human race is basically continuously imagining about its own future right now.
Deep. Frankenstein was the first.
Yes, it was
sci-fi
the
book.
first science fiction book.
Written by a
Yes,
woman, guys.
amazing.
So I have a funny, I don't know if it's funny, but a story to share where I was at Borderlands, the store that we just discussed, and I was browsing and I overheard this conversation between this like big burly like dude like hey, and he's all like, guys, you know what, like I've never read anything. I don't know why he sounds like
There's a
Vikram
term
Malhotra.
for them, neckbeards. I'm not even joking. It's like the beard is here.
Yeah.
That's a
I've
neckbeard.
never enjoyed a sci-fi book written by a woman. Like I don't know what it is. I'm not
Oh,
being
tera problem
sexist, but I'm like choot. But I mean, I wanted to fight him, but I was also very like jet lagged, So I'm like, I have 20 minutes to pick up everything I want to from this and run home because I'm going to curl into a ball and sleep.
Huh.
So lots of like inner conflict happened. But that moment I was also like, I don't know enough about science fiction to sit up and like find those books and then beat him to death with them,
Correct,
right?
correct.
Yeah, so like, let's
So
talk
I
about
mean,
female writing.
so the series I mentioned earlier, that Trading in Danger series,
Correct.
is written by a woman. Her name's Elizabeth Moon, and she's brilliant. She's actually really, really good.
Jeanette
Winterson. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
So all of so I mean, look, if anyone tells you that science fiction, yes, there you
The
go.
Giver by Lois Lowry. Actually, it's considered to be really, really like seminal. Why? Like for young adults, it's a
Perfect.
starter book
Yeah,
for
there you go.
teenagers in science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway.
anyone who tells you that is just
it
is ignorant. You know what? He's just like plain ignorant. He hasn't
Yeah,
read enough.
an asshole,
That-
man.
Yeah.
Like,
Seriously.
in today's day and age. Anyway,
Anyway.
I want us to talk about the series that I have recently discovered that I love because I also fell in love with the TV show. It's called The Expanse
Oh yeah, definitely.
by James S.A. Corey. Who
Actually,
are
two people, na?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are दो है, दो. मेरे दो James. Anyway.
Okay, that had to happen. That had to
Yeah,
happen.
what are they called? What are the...
Daniel Abraham and I always forget the second guy. Is it Ty Frank? I'm not
Probably,
sure.
I don't know.
Daniel Abraham is one of them, and he's more like public on Twitter, which is why I know him at all. Yeah, but I mean, amazing books, right?
Amazing. And I watched like
What is it about?
both
What
seasons
is
of the
Expanse
show.
about?
So what Expanse is about, again, I feel like it's so possible, right? It could
Right?
totally happen.
Yeah.
That is what I love the most about it. So it's set about 150 years into the future where humanity has colonized Mars and the belt.
Neighboring.
The outer rim, the asteroid belt.
Which,
Right.
yeah, which is
Asteroid
between
belt.
Mars and
Yeah, but
Jupiter.
I mean, I think it's called the Kuiper
no,
belt.
wait.
Yeah, it's between Mars and
Jupiter,
Jupiter. Yes,
yeah.
you're right.
Okay.
That's the Kuiper belt.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've colonized the belt and it's all about, so initially it's about a missing woman and there is also this rogue faction of,
Yeah,
it's a rogue spaceship.
it's like revealed very slowly.
Very
Yeah,
slowly, yeah, you don't know what's happening
Yeah.
until you know and then you're just like, oh my, so it's just so interesting and so possible and that I love the politics. What I
Yes.
love the most about The Expanse is how political it is and how humanity is not going to change. So even when we colonize other planets, what makes us assholes is it remains the same.
Exactly,
You know?
yeah, it's
we are still
brilliant.
fighting each other. We are still like hating on each other for no
Wow,
reason.
we are just like a self-destructive species,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Our whole
And-
But
purpose
it is- that's-
this.
It's
Wow.
on the basis is everything that's happening on Earth, which
Yeah.
he's taken and he's making it interplanetary, and that's what I love because the minute you say other planets, you start thinking aliens, and you start thinking aliens will invade, and you start thinking war with them.
But
You
it's-
never
we are the
imagine,
aliens.
Yeah.
You never think that we will be the ones on these planets fighting each other and claiming to be Martians. That's what I love about The Expanse. Of
Yes.
course, and the characters are superb.
Yeah.
Like,
The way you guys are talking about Expanse also makes me think, because I think it's somewhere in the 2020s when the space settlement project that's happening in
Yes,
Mars will
the
start.
Elon Musk thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
People
absolutely.
dude, the minute he said that, I
And
thought,
yes,
I was
yes,
like, yes.
exactly.
And I
My
remember
book
the
is
people
real.
signing up for it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a one-way ticket. You don't come back. You pretty
Yeah.
much go there and you know, sort of rebuild civilization.
Just for the
there.
first ones though. His plan by 2050 is to make it two-way. Like you can just go to Mars and
Crazy.
come back like you would go to New York. That's his plan, which is amazing. Which is what they do in the book.
Expanse is going to happen. Might as well stay ahead of the curve. Might as well
Read it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
But I actually changed my Twitter cover photo. That is how obsessed I was. It was Doctor Who,
and now
which
it's
is
like,
now it's
yeah.
Expanse. Basically, sci-fi rules everything in my life.
Badhiya,
My
badhiya.
phone is Legion. Great show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we should also talk about Philip K. Dick, I think. Like, he's one of those authors who has really, really influenced all forms of science fiction.
Yes,
Correct,
that's
correct.
true.
And in fact, it's even, I want to talk about it now because Blade Runner 20...
Is coming, yes.
49, 59?
2020, yeah, something, whatever. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, so that's actually a very good reason to talk about Philip K. Dick. I read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and I really liked it, but I also really disliked it. But again, I feel like the reason I dislike it is because it's that the same. It's the whole like that dystopian future where
yes.
Earth is covered in dust. This is true. This is even in Jeanette Winterson's book. Like everybody is going towards Earth is going to end, and we're all going to we have to move
Right.
to Mars, and there are too many people, and I feel like this is going to happen, and we are not prepared for it.
Correct.
And Donald Trump is denying climate change.
Yeah.
He's
Paris. Yeah.
what?
Seriously.
Read science fiction, bro.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that's a great book because when was it written? 1960s.
Oh, it's ages, yeah, in the
So
60s.
old.
Yeah.
It's so old, and it has this whole it has robots gone rogue.
Yeah.
It has sentient robots. Okay, not just the first leap is robots. The next leap is sentient robots, and then robots, gone rogue.
Yeah.
And
And also it's a very interesting. What have they gone rogue for?
Yeah.
Just to be human.
Yeah.
Right? That's their motivating
that's
factor.
Their it's amazing. Yeah.
That inspired the movie Bicentennial Man.
Correct. And that book has this cult, okay, which everybody follows, and everything is governed by empathy. Like you have to feel empathy for each other,
Yeah.
and that's that's the religion is empathy.
Right.
And they have an empathy box, and there's things that control moods, and it's just when you read stuff like that, it's such a convoluted mirror.
Yes.
To society.
It's like looking into a
It's
mirror.
like, okay, fuck you, Philip K. Dick. That's not what I'm like. Oh, fuck, that's what
That
I'm
is
like.
totally. Yeah.
It's a volte face. That's what
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick has always done. Like even
Yeah.
this Man in the High Castle, if you read it, it just makes you feel like real shit because you think that, if you give, absolute power corrupts absolutely,
Yeah.
he proves it over and over again in his books. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Genius.
So sad.
Science fiction has to be one of the most thought-provoking genres.
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
It
There's
will make you think.
there's a series, well not series, there's a 2-book kind of anthology by this guy called Joe Haldeman. It's called Forever War and Forever Peace. And there you go, that's the one. You have to read this book because more than anything, because it will bring back what we are, all our modern conflicts like Iraq, Afghanistan, that kind of stuff. Is basically so the war that he's describing in this book is like that, and it's a story of one person's journey through this war, one soldier's story, but it could be the story of a private in Iraq or a mujahideen fighter
Too
in
real,
Afghanistan.
guys.
Wow. Very real,
I'm
absolutely.
reading it right now.
Yeah.
Take it.
Incredibly good. There's 2 versions of this book. He wrote the original version many years ago, 20, 30 years ago.
Oh.
And then he wrote a little, maybe 2 chapters as an addendum, which completely changes the story.
Oh, wow.
So read the original first, okay, and then and then you come talk to me, and then I'll tell you what happens in the next one. And you decide if you want to read it because it completely changes the story. I'm only going to say that much.
Okay. Have you guys read any short fiction?
Oh yeah, who's that guy? They made The Arrival.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a brilliant series. What's the
I hate
Arrival
that story,
series?
but-
Oh shit.
That story is not great. That's the least
So
good story.
boring. It's like इसका कितना अच्छा picture बनाया. Like wow. He's taken just the basic premise and been like, ये टट्टी है, मैं मस्त बनाएगा.
Yes.
There was that also, no, the paper menagerie. Who's that
Yeah.
by? That was,
Yeah.
but that
Ken
Liu. But that story
think I've read
felt
that
more
one.
like fantasy than science fiction. But it's winning all these like sci-fi
Oh,
awards.
I haven't actually read that. I must
Yeah,
pick that
it
up.
was being circulated. It's one of those things that was being shared a lot. I'll
Okay.
send
Yeah,
it
yeah,
to
send
you.
it, send it.
Paper Menagerie, which is also
Okay,
a lovely
awesome.
story, but wasn't sci-fi. I didn't think so. Any other short fiction that you read?
All the classic science fiction is better in like the short stories from a long time ago are much better. I feel that's my personal.
Which
ones? Isaac Asimov. All his short stories were brilliant. I think one of the reasons why that's true is because each of those were like an independent thought. That it's like he had a brain fart moment one day and just like said, hey, you know what? Something something sparked in his head, and he's like, I'll just write that down quickly, and that became like a 20-30 page short story, and boom, and suddenly you put all of those together, and
I
so
want to be that smart.
I know, right? World's most prolific writer.
What happened to Stephen King?
What happened to him, meaning? No. Are prolific in the sense that he has written more content for, like, he's written enough content for the Dewey Decimal System in libraries. Isaac Asimov holds the record for being, total nerd. For being the person with the most entries, as in like he has published across the most entries. So like everything from like scientific journals to science fiction to like actual fiction to various categories of books he has written. Books and like content essentially, like short stories, books, articles, all that.
Too much discipline.
Too much discipline.
I have a question.
Hamalo.
How will you? If there is an alien attack?
Oh.
How will you survive?
You will not. You will not. If there's one thing that I've learned from science fiction, it's that when a superior civilization meets, actually from history, when a superior civilization meets an inferior one, the inferior one always loses. You will not. You may individually survive,
Yeah.
but but I think the chances for species is like thoda gaya bhi.
Species.
The chance for our species.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Shit.
You won't, na, Baba. How you will
Not all.
survive?
I'll hide or something.
That's why, so actually what you need to do is we need to plan in advance and be the species that contacts another species. Then you're fine.
But what if that species is superior?
Nahi hoga na.
What if you're allergic to it?
So if
What?
No,
it's
this is
possible,
not a. It's
war
guys.
of the
War
worlds.
of the
War of the
worlds.
worlds.
Yeah.
War of the worlds.
It's
Absolutely.
even in Martian Chronicles, I will
Absolutely.
not give it away,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there is like it's 100% possible, man.
Yeah, of course.
Imagine some friendly
But
minion
this is
shaped
what
alien
Christopher
coming
Columbus
in.
did to the Americas,
Exactly,
right? He
yeah.
did what? Smallpox.
Smallpox,
Yeah.
smallpox.
Fucking idiot
Yeah.
killed them all.
But you know this happens even today. Even today this happens. So like in the Andamans, there was a tribe apparently in the Andamans, and not separated by more than 50 years, right? So the last time there was contact between that island and the mainland was 50 years ago. Within 50 years, some disease on the mainland developed that killed off all of these guys on the island. 50 years. Now imagine like two populations separated by like essentially hundreds of thousands of years. There's no chance and the other one would survive. You know one author we haven't discussed, Neil Stephenson. He's my
I've heard
third
his name.
favorite author.
Yeah.
He wrote Cryptonomicon, which is not a science fiction book. Well, it's not a science fiction book, but the one that I want to talk about was Anathem, which is
that's what I heard the
such
name.
a
Yeah.
good
Oh,
book.
yeah, man.
Such
That
a
was
good
a
book.
really good
That was a
book.
great
I
book.
agree.
Yeah. What were you saying? How to make what?
How to make science fiction happy?
How to make science fiction happy?
Okay. let's
Put a
start
love
with-
story in science fiction
Well, there are no.
where they get married.
Yeah,
Amidst
so many.
chaos and like meteorite showers
Lots,
and
lots.
volcano.
Ari, that one, that guy
That's a
was
Gujarati wedding.
again, are you saying that's not science fiction? I swear to God, I've seen this. I've seen a bridegroom, like a bridegroom coming to, you know,
What,
like
the
a no.
spaceship?
Yes, I'm not joking,
Shut
dude.
up,
I swear to God, I'm not joking. This was one of those set kind of, they have those sets, now. They have those sets where the bride is waiting, and then sometimes they come in a helicopter or a crane or something.
He came from a spaceship.
Yeah, they mocked up one plywood ka spaceship, and this guy, I swear I'm not joking. This was, I'll tell you even where this was. This was in Ahmedabad. One of my friends was getting married. This was not his wedding. There was another wedding in the field next door. I'm not even joking. Like whatever, like lawns, gardens, jo bhi hai. And
what did they serve? Arm Roswell?
It happened. You know what? I bet there are pictures of this on social media. Find it, people. Find it. Post in the comments.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of
a great cracking
episode
of what could be real.
Yeah.
Guys, but have you ever did you ever watch Roswell? Speaking of Roswell, yeah.
I swear I started watching it.
Yeah.
I started watching it, and then I got bored.
Do you think though that
Area 51 exists?
No, it does exist.
It does exist.
It does.
Yeah.
It absolutely exists.
But do you think all the urban legends
I
are true?
don't. And the reason is because the same reason that I gave earlier. No, it's because if that were to happen, why would it stop over there? Why would one come everywhere else, right? I mean, if you're powerful enough as a race to be able to travel
maybe it was
that
a crash
far.
landing. गलती से आ गया.
गलती से आ गया फिर भी if you're powerful enough to travel that distance, उतना crash नहीं होगा. मतलब something whatever survives will be enough to rebuild and take over.
Do you think in our lifetime we'll see aliens land on this planet?
I hope
Maybe
not.
they are already here. That's my theory, that they're already here.
Yeah? What makes you say that?
Now she's going to say, what if we are all aliens and our soul
And then
is
I'll
a
say,
plant?
and then I'll say, but we are.
Yeah, right. My theory is this, guys, that I feel like it's if the universe is as big as the universe is, that is indescribably big. It's very vain to think we're the only species out there.
Fair.
And it's also very vain to think that maybe nobody has tried to contact us.
No.
I just feel
but so the first one, yes. Why the second one? Why the second one?
Pyramids were built by.
Oh, aisa.
I am that person. I've read Chariots of the God and be like, oh my God, Hanuman was alien.
This is like that. Have you seen Goodness Gracious Me?
Chariots of God.
Naam nahi yaad. Chariots of the God was like a really funny, not funny. It was real stories. It's the theory is that there are no gods. That all gods were actually aliens. So that's the theory that it's very well researched book, but it's little funny because Udan Khatola from the Ramayana was a spaceship. Not a spaceship, sorry, a helicopter.
A helicopter.
And Hanuman was actually an alien, and his long, what is it called?
Tail.
The tail was actually his the mask. The
Oh,
not a monkey, it was a mask, and that
and there was his oxygen
not
of the hose.
oxygen or
whatever he was
gas,
breathing,
and
whatever.
he was connected to a ship which was really, really far away.
Interesting.
So and the pyramids.
It's all plausible.
Sure.
There used to be a really shitty, amazing show on Discovery called Real Aliens or something like that. I will find the exact name and put in the description. That show was so pulpy. Every episode was about new kinds of aliens. There was one episode, I kid you not, where it tried to measure the skull of Einstein's skull and say it was impossible that he was human. Look at the dimensions. He was alien.
मैंने भी YouTube पे documentary देखी है.
This is where that meme comes from, no?
Convinced that 9/11 was planned by Bush.
Yeah.
That documentary is so convincing.
Michael Bay. Right?
It's hilarious.
Michael Bay, right?
What?
It wasn't that by Michael Bay?
No, I don't think
this
so.
is just random.
No, it's
YouTube
random. Like some guys
documentary,
is
If go looking for conspiracy theories and you'll find a dime a
But
dozen.
anyway, but Chariots of the God was a really cool book.
it's an interesting
trippy book actually.
thought experiment. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're at the end of this really interesting.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
I'm so happy.
Interesting.
Yes.
So such an interesting podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching and listening. And if you have any conspiracy theories of your own, please put them niche. Matlab, two
and
things.
find that wedding and post pictures from that wedding.
Please, I want to see this Sharin.
Yes. For Sharin's sake, do it. Do it now.
Gujarati Area 51.
Yes. Dandiya Roswell.
No.